So, I've decided for Thanksgiving I'm going to make myself a pumpkin roll, and I can't imagine a better place to get advice on making fresh pumpkins than Bauman Farm. And I'm here with Brian Bauman. So, there are some specific pumpkins for cooking if you want to choose them. What is this one?
So, this is a variety called New England pie pumpkins. And they call them pie pumpkins because it's just the right size to make a pumpkin pie.
Okay.
But the problem is a lot of people use pumpkins, and pumpkins are good for pumpkin pies, but pumpkins have a very high water content. We have a lot of customers that call us and say, my filling is too runny. And there's a lot of water in pumpkins. So we actually have a couple different squashes that actually make a really good pumpkin pie, but it's a squash, and your family will never know the difference.
Cool, let's look at them.
Let's take a look.
So I see a lot of different squash here.
Yes, we have probably 20 different varieties of squash that we grow, but this is the one that you need to take a look at. This is a sweetmeat squash. And sweetmeat squash is orange, has an orange flesh just like the pumpkin does, but it has a much lower water content, but still has the same flavor as pumpkin. So even a lot of times when you buy your pumpkin canned pumpkin in the store, it'll say squash on it. And it's usually a sweetmeat squash.
Okay.
And the flavor is excellent, the water content is a little bit lower, and you'll come out looking like a gourmet chef.
Perfect. Well, then I think this is probably the one I'm going to have to get. And, if you have any other questions, you can come on out to Bauman Farms and talk to them about pumpkins and what to cook. And I've got a pumpkin roll to make now, Brian.
I want a sample.
Okay. So I'm here with David. And David, I was out at Bauman Farms, and Brian said to do my pumpkin roll that I want to make this year, that the best thing would be these sweet meat pumpkins, but you're going to help me prepare it because I'm pretty lost from here on out.
I can do that. My biggest question is, what do we need for that pumpkin roll? 2/3 of a cup?
Yes.
So we're going to have a little bit of extra. So, but he did tell you that this is the right type, the best type for pumpkin pie.
A lot less water, he said, and moisture in it, so it's not as runny.
Okay, so we're going to roast it. You can boil it, you can steam it, whatever you want to do, but roasting is really the best. It dries it and steams at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it around the equator, and the beautiful lines that I started, you can go ahead and finish. And then once you've gotten all the way around, we're just going to flip it open, and we're going to take out...
These aren't easy.
They're not. They're thick, and you got to be really careful. That's why I'm letting you do it, because I don't want to cut myself on,
Thanks
on
so
television.
much. Well, I think there we go.
All right, nice. The one thing that's really neat about this, too, is they have really huge seeds for good pumpkin seeds. And is this a pumpkin or is it a squash? What did he tell you?
I believe it's a squash.
It's a squash. Okay, all right. So if you want, all we're going to do is we want to scrape it out, get the seeds out, and we want to get the stringy parts out.
And that's kind of tough, too.
Yeah, it is. And these are not quite as soft as the jack-o'-lanterns that you
aren't.
use.
Do I have to be real perfect?
No, well, get as much as you can. We're going to actually finish this through a food mill, so we'll get rid of any imperfections on that. So that's basically it. You don't need oil. You don't need anything else. You just turn it basically upside down. So like I said, it's going to dry from the outside, and it's going to steam from the inside. So we're going to put it in a 375 oven. It's anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. It depends on the size. So it's all ready to go. So let's get this in the oven. It's been about an hour and a half. It's soft. You can feel it to the touch. We let it cool down, and now we can start getting it ready. And really, it's just a matter of just taking the skin off. It just peels off. You can get your hands dirty in there, too.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, sure does.
And sometimes you can even pull the stem off, and it'll come straight off that way. So what we're going to do is we take all that off, and then you can put it either in a food processor or through a food mill.
Well, I think one of the things, David, is this is the stuff that you did.
That is the finished product.
That's a huge amount from just half of this squash.
It's a lot. I'm guessing there's probably a couple quarts in there. So my recommendation is that you can freeze it so you can have it throughout the winter. I'd probably freeze it in a cup. If you have a recipe that calls for more, you can use more. But it's just as simple as just getting it in the measuring cup, getting it in the baggie, getting all the air out, and dating it and freezing it. And we're good to go.
Wow. Now, how did you get it from this stage to this stage, though?
What I did is after we took all the skin off, I just chunked off the meat and I put it in a food mill. And you just turn it, and it just softens it. And if you have any of those fibers that you were getting out with the seed, that'll all be left behind. So it's just a really nice, smooth product. And speaking of a nice, smooth product, coming up in a little bit, we are going to make...
the pumpkin roll.
Woohoo! All right.